you for joining us and to introduce you to our Historical Society board. My name is Christy Averett. I am the Vice President and Membership, and this is Jenny Mumpower. She is our President of the Historical Society, and she is the face that you see when you're here on Tuesdays and Thursdays. She's really great at genealogy and research, so if you have questions, she knows all things Chelsea and can help dive into all of that fun stuff that some of us don't know yet and we're working on. And back in the back is Bill, her husband, and he is our technical and our temporary secretary. We are currently holding or bringing in nominations for secretary positions. We have one that has already submitted, and we will be voting on that in July. So just as an FYI, if you have anybody that you would like to nominate, if you are a member of the Historical Society, you can nominate people. You can nominate yourself if you want to, and then we will vote on that in July. But other than that, we have no other board members here with us today. Ms. Raz is a former board member, so she is here joining us today as well, so thank you, ma'am. If you don't mind, we are going to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and then we will follow that up with a prayer, and Bill, if you don't mind doing the prayer. All right, attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pray. Dear gracious Heavenly Father, thank you for this time. Please do the program that somebody will learn something here today, just to do the fellowship and everybody here, just to travel further as we move through. We just take care of us this day, and thank you for this beautiful, wonderful day. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much. Yeah, we can pull it down later. So just a little bit of museum talk, just some things to get out of the way. This session is being recorded today. Chris will be showing it later on his YouTube channel, so just so y'all know, if anybody doesn't want to be in camera shot, then you can move to the back and you won't be there, but he will be recording this session and you can find it later on his channel and he will talk about that. Membership and donations, thank you to everybody who has donated, and we do have memberships to the Historical Society available. They begin at $20. So if you're interested in joining us and being a part of this society, please see either myself, Jenny, Bill, and we will help you get that completed. Our hours are Tuesday through Thursday, Tuesday and Thursday from 11 to 4. And you can come in, like I said, and walk around, take the tour. Miss Marie, who is usually here, gives a great, amazing tour. And otherwise, if you have research, we have books available, and you can come in and research, and Jenny will be here to help you with that. We have several programs coming up in July and October. Those are our quarterly programs. We're still working on narrowing down our October date, but not October date, but our October program. But July's is set and ready to go, and we will be voting on our new secretary at that time. And let's see, we talked about that. So I am, at this point, I'm making this short and sweet because we want to hear all things from Chris. So I'm going to turn it over to Jenny, and she is going to introduce our speaker, and then it will be all yours.
Mickey, you want to say anything about the Mount Calvary thing in May?
Not much to say, just the fact that we're going to be there for that Saturday for about 2 or 3 hours, and anybody that's interested in old churches and cemeteries are very welcome and invited to come.
Can I give a cemetery tour while we're in it?
You sure can.
It's May 13th, May 13th from 11 to 1.
It's a Saturday before Mother's Day.
Who all is going to Quinn Cemetery after we leave here? Does anybody need directions? Well, when you go down 47, because this cemetery belongs to Liberty Baptist Church. It was the original Liberty Baptist Church cemetery from the 1840s. So it's past Liberty Baptist Church, the ball field, the community center, and there will be a historical marker on the left-hand side of the road, and turn at the historical marker, and the cemetery is right there. So when we go there, we'll be telling the story of the Alabama 31st. And Chris has got some flags for the Civil War soldiers there. And there's also a couple of widows there whose husbands did not come home from the war. And this is a cemetery hunt at your own risk. And what I'm saying is the cemetery is not kept up well. There's stones like this sticking up out of the ground. There's holes. And we can't be responsible for anybody getting hurt. We don't have that kind of resources. But we will have chairs and water for anybody who needs them. That's it.
Our 6th anniversary.
Yes, today is the 6-year anniversary of our very first Historical Society meeting at the Community Center. Raz, were you there?
That's been a long time ago.
Oh, yes. Mickey was there. What we planned, 50 people, maybe 75, and 130 showed up. And it has been alive ever since, and we can't do it without community support, both physically, financially, all the way around. And I guess that's it. So Chris, I love Chris to death, and you know when we go visit the members of the 31st at the cemetery, Chris actually played one of the members of the 31st at the reenactment. I'm very proud of that. Played my 3rd great grandfather, James Kendrick, Mickey's ancestor too.
So yeah, I did participate. It was actually at the Battle of Reenactment. This is my buddy Brett. He's in the same group. Love these guys to death. They were generous enough to let me fall in with them. And you know, I used to just kind of film battlefields by myself, but then I wanted to try to bring it into a different point. I started attaching a GoPro where you guys can actually see how we march. You can hear the commands. You can actually see us all line up and firing together as a company. So it's a lot of fun to be able to do it. I did it with them first, and then I kind of went and did it again with the 18th Alabama, but at that event they were doing the 63rd Ohio. So I have done Confederate, I've done Union, I've done artillery. My good friend Jesse let me fire his cannon. So, you know, and then I've done medical field as well with the GoPro. So I get to see all kinds of different ways of how these soldiers was, you know, being taken care of, or how the battles were taking place. You know, me and Brett has known each other for a while. His captain Jason is a great guy too. I actually visited him yesterday at Fort Harker when they were at there doing the reenactment. But Brett is going to actually give you guys a little bit of information about the uniforms that some of the Confederates wore. So I'm going to go ahead and let you talk about the uniforms and what you have on.
Alright, so right now I'm portraying an Alabama soldier from the 31st. Most soldiers in the Confederates could wear what they could find, so that goes to different colors like butternut to gray, and just because, yeah, so. Down here, butternut, up here, can't really think of the color.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, I think it's that.
Yeah. And with Confederate wise, you can wear like blanket rolls. It goes both ways for both armies. The Union basically wore blue, and most perception is that Confederates wore gray, Yankees wear blue. Wear a hat to keep the sun off our necks and all that. You got it varying from slouch hats to khakis to forage caps. Most soldiers would have wore slouch hats because they don't want the sun on the neck. Got canteen, keep hydrated during the day, during the fight, bayonet. They were banned by the Geneva Convention during the war because it's a triangular blade. And so typically has a triangle on the end of this, so if you put it in someone, it's going to create a triangle wound. Therefore, it's going to be hard to stitch up. But there are cases that soldiers were stitched up after the fight who've been stabbed by bayonets. Bell accoutrements, cap box, goes on to nipple of the rifle, which is a fuse to explode the powder inside the gun barrel, let the gun go off. Back here you got the cartridge box. This is where the ammunition would be. In the war you would have cartridges that have 2 caps inside them with a mini ball and powder. And so the caps would go in here, and so the rest would go in the cartridge box. Last thing you have is you have the knapsack back here, or haversack, sorry. You got haversack, so haversack's like where you carry your personal items, food, just any tools that you need for your rifle, any cleaning stuff you need for your rifle after your fight, so. Yeah, and then on my feet you got brogans, shoes that soldiers wore. The socks, soldiers did this, some soldiers didn't, but the socks you can go over the end of the pants, and so basically it's kind of like, I want to say it's like what World War I soldiers did
Yeah.
in the trenches, just so mud doesn't, or mud
Try to
water.
keep the dirt and stuff coming into your socks.
Yeah, so you got that, and so yeah, you got infantry boots that some soldiers wore and all that, but those soldiers in the war would wear these brogans, so that's basically it. And under everything you'd have battle shirt and cotton flannels,
Yeah.
so that's basically it.
And then, you know, the next reenactment that the 31st was also part of is coming up in September, which is the Battle of Chickamauga. So I'm looking forward to being there filming that. Hopefully Brett can make it if baseball or football allows him to be there. He's a great person to be around as well as anybody in the company. I love being out there with them guys. And I've developed a lot of relationship with a lot of people from different regiments, Union, Confederate. They all mean a lot to me. You know, I'm just building that camaraderie with them, and I learned that at Reenactment, you know, getting up. What time did we get up? Like 5 in the morning.
I think so, yeah.
5 in the morning. We were already cooking breakfast, getting coffee ready. And by 9, we were already getting ready to do our morning march to the parade. Right before we started doing drills at 10. So we kind of got a feel of exactly how these men were, you know, preparing for battle every day. And it was a blast. I enjoyed being out there. Maybe we'll do it again. But my main goal is always to try to bring history to anybody that's not able to see it. I try to go to anywhere I can. I've done a lot of things for Jenny. I've even went out to Barnesville, where she was asking me to go out and, you know, pay respects to those soldiers that was killed in the train wreck during the Civil War. So I'm always willing to listen to anybody and ask if you guys got somewhere you guys want to be and you guys want a story to be told. Let me know. I do have business cards here if you guys would like to check me out on YouTube. I'm on there, and I got a lot of videos from different reenactments. I think I've done well over 20-something reenactments already. Last year I was at Perryville for the 160. So, you know, got a couple of good events coming up this year. I'm going to be at the Battle of Richmond in Kentucky in August. So I've been doing a lot of Western theater the last few years. Next year I'm going to be tackling the Eastern theater. And also where the 31st surrendered in Bentonville, or after the Battle of Bentonville. So I'm looking forward to being out there and finally getting to finish James' saga, because it's been way past overdue. And the first time that I got to see James' grave, it was an honor after traveling and being at Vicksburg and all those campaigns that he did during the time of Vicksburg. It was just an honor to be able to do that. And I've brought, you know, Jenny a picture back of the Alabama Monument at Vicksburg.
Oh, that's how we met Chris, because
Well, wasn't it the Battle of Gilead Church when I found the capture
Yes.
spot? Yeah.
because the day that he was captured, a week before Kennesaw, is not a day that is well recorded. The happenings of that day, it was the day after Polk was killed. So Polk death is recorded, and then they get into Kennesaw. But that day that the 31st was captured by the Union soldiers is not really documented. And I found the capture place, and that it actually took place going through the old microfilm records of the Civil War. So when I was trying to find videos of people who had actually been in the location, Chris was the only one I could find that actually done a video of the location. So that was really cool. That's how we got to meet Chris.
and it's been a blast ever since. I love coming out here to Chelsea and doing whatever I can for you guys and try to share as much history with you guys as I learned, because there's a lot of things that I didn't know and that I'm still learning. But I mean, you know, and I have had a lot of people ask me, why do I do the things that I do, and why not? It's American history. You know, we've got to learn it one way or another.
Well,
you know,
the day that James got caught
yeah.
and the rest of the 31st changed Chelsea, like did a topsy-turvy, because it flipped Chelsea's like economy upside down, trying to get out of the financial and economical mess of having their husbands and fathers and sons in a prison camp for over a year. To come home, either not come home because they died there, or they were sick, they come home sick, or they came home maimed. So it's like we cannot study Chelsea history and how this happened unless we look at why it happened.
Yeah.
And the location where they were captured, the trenches that they were in that day are still in the ground. And me and Bill and his daughter walked through the trenches, and that was a really cool experience. That was a once in a lifetime thing I won't ever forget.
That's right.
It's kind of like when I was at Vicksburg, you know, I stood right there at the marker of the line where the 31st was. You know, and after all the traveling that you do, and you go to where these men actually fought at, when you're actually standing on a line that they've actually stood on, you kind of feel like they're right there with you. Like, you know, and every time I go to these places, I know that they're with me, because I can even feel like James's presence. You know, he's leading me through this. You know, and that's why I'm doing it. For everyone to know James and his story and what his men had to go through. Because they went through some hard times. You don't believe. I only did that reenactment one time besides the one at Fiddler's Green, and that's a lot of work, trying to camp out and clean your muskets after fighting, and you know, making sure that you have all the food and stuff that you need. You know, ammunition sometimes runs low, you know, or you know, it's a lot of work, and these men went through a lot. So for us to just want to try to erase it, you know, it's just spitting in the face of everyone that has ancestors that fought. And we got to keep it, you know, and if you don't like the monuments, then you can just, you know, you can walk away. Because some people, and you know, especially you know, being part of the Kindred family, you know, you like to hear stories about where he fought and what he had to endure, because, you know, it's interesting to me. Every time I read a story, or Jenny has somewhere for me to go, I'm always eager to go out there and try to see it. And that's why I said the last place I have for the 31st is where they surrendered at after the fight at Bentonville. Well, I know that they were still in the Battle of Franklin as well.
Yeah, when the 31st started, there were thousands of soldiers, and by the time they got to Bentonville, they had maybe 100 left.
Yeah, their first assignment was Shiloh, after organizing in 1862.
Yeah, April 1862.
Yeah, 1860, and then they were transferred to Tennessee, where their first combat was Shiloh, Tennessee. And we all know the outcome of Shiloh and the casualties there. So there was a lot going on. So you know, that's why I love history. I love being with these guys. They taught me a lot. And I hope that you guys will check out my channel and you know, follow me on there as well, and help me get to that mark where I can start going to more places and sharing more stories, because I know there's a lot of history that I don't know, but I'm going to need the help from you guys to be able to subscribe to the channel and just support me that way. That's the only way that the only way that I tell people to support me is just by subscribing. That's all you need to do, and that goes a long way. And on my journey, I don't have any ancestors that I know of that fought in the Civil War or the American Revolution or any of that. But through my journey since, well, this August would be 3 years on YouTube. through that time, I probably have helped well over 100 people find their ancestors. Civil War, American Revolution, and Native American. So that's what motivates me, is that I'm connecting to people that I don't even know. But it feels good that I'm finding somebody's ancestor. Just like how me and Jenny connected. It all started from one video. And now we have a great friendship from one video. And that's how we can build together. You know, we can share stories. You might not agree with it, but that's what we all have. We have opinions. You can't erase something just because you think that your opinion only matters. Everybody else has an opinion, and we should be able to listen to one another. I've done interviews with ABC News over Civil War reenactments, and I have defended the battle flag and everything about the Civil War on live news. I mean, he called me a racist, but I still went through. You know,
Tell about how you ended up in the hospital all day.
Yeah, that is great. So I was at Resaca, and I'm not really familiar with the heat, but Saturday morning, I started getting sick. I mean, I have a brain tumor. I had a brain tumor when I was 2, and they removed it and put a shunt. So I can't take heat like a lot of people. So I went out to Resaca Saturday. We were getting ready. Actually, we were getting ready to line up at 1 o'clock. I think it was around 12. I was eating lunch. I got sick, started throwing up, and I was so dehydrated they had to give me IVs to get some water in me. But in the back of my mind, all I could say is that I have to do this. I have to do this for Kindred in the 31st. I have to. I made a promise to these guys that I'm going to go out there and fight.
And you made a promise to your wife too that day.
Yeah, I did. So it was 2 promises that I made that day, and I couldn't break either one of them. And I was discharged from the hospital after, spending 6-8 hours in there, and took my wife to the dance that they hold over there, so she can see how the ball was. But still made it back Sunday just to be able to line up with these guys and fight underneath the 31st flag. So I went through so much. I mean, on Sunday we were still over that, but we eventually joined up with a Mississippi regiment and a Tennessee regiment, so to build a bigger battalion. But after finally completing that fight, I could be more happy about myself that I completed the goal that I set. Because I could not let myself be taken out like this. Because I kept thinking in my mind, these guys went through more than I went through that one day. So if I give up now, I give up on them. So I kept fighting. We finished the fight. I eventually was shot and wounded, had to be taken to a tree to get worked on. But it was all fun. It was a blast. I'd say that was probably the best day of my life, besides traveling battlefields. But with that,
So probably the hottest day.
yeah, I think it was like 95, maybe 98 degrees. We were out there, and
What's really cool about these battlefields is that they've got the markers on there where the regiments fought, the exact location, so you can study, like we do this up here, we study what regiment your ancestor was, and then you can go find the exact location. Because Bill at Chickamauga, Bill had an ancestor named Bill Mumpower,
Yep.
wounded in the Battle of Chickamauga. So we found the exact location and Bill laid on the ground like he was wounded.
We took a photograph right where our ancestor was.
And they'll have the Battle of Resaca again this year. It'll be May 19th through the 21st. So if you guys are ever able to make it out there, you guys won't be disappointed. It's always a great battle.
And for everybody who doesn't know, where is Chickamauga?
So Chickamauga is like going towards Dalton, like a little bit. I think it's a little bit past Tunnel Hill, isn't it?
It's in Chattanooga, like in.
South of
It's
Chattanooga.
kind of right there at the Georgia-Tennessee line.
So, yeah, the 31st traveled from Chickamauga down to Atlanta, and look at those mountains, like when you drive on the interstate through those mountains. The 31st traveled through those mountains on foot, carrying their gear,
I
their
couldn't imagine.
cannons. all that stuff going up and down those mountains all the way from Chickamauga to.
Because some of those mountains are even like crazy on your car, so I couldn't imagine doing that on your feet.
And taking a cannon with you too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think that was besides being infantry, I think the best one that I did was when Jesse at Gainesville allowed me to fire his cannon. That was probably the best thing, just the adrenaline that you get from pulling that string and that cannon kicking back and it was firing. So that was fun. That was fun. Medical was fun. I played the role of corpsman, where I was going out there picking up wounded soldiers and taking them back to the medical tent where they would be worked on. Then they had a few that they played like they were they died on the operating table. So I would have to take them over there, take off their shoe, because at that during that time they would take off their shoes after they passed. So I got to endure a lot of different things on my way from doing this for almost 3 years, and developed so many friends out of it, and I would do anything for, especially Brett. And I look forward to working with him again soon. I really do. With that, I'm going to leave it open to any questions. If you guys have any, I'll be more than happy to answer.
So how far did the 31st actually try, like we were talking about, they started in Tennessee and then you said they ended in Vicksburg, Mississippi?
Well, they were captured in Vicksburg, and then they were reorganized and did a little bit in the Atlanta campaign.
Yeah, they were captured in Vicksburg on the 4th of July, 1863. And they joined in April 1862, went to Tennessee. And after they left Tennessee, they went to Vicksburg, traveled across Alabama, back to Tennessee, and then down to Atlanta. And then they were recaptured again, almost a year from the first time they were captured. But the first time they were paroled, and they signed this thing saying that they would behave. And it didn't happen, so the second time, they weren't gonna let them out.
Well, I mean, they're Southern boys. They don't know how to behave.
Yeah.
But no, and then they were, the last battle that I know of is when they did Bentonville, because, they were captured at Gilliam Church, right outside of Kennesaw, where General Polk was killed, actually when he was hit by a cannonball.
He actually split in two.
Yeah.
The cannonball split him in two.
Yeah. I went to his memorial service last year. That was a good memorial service. And then a little bit of what kind of events I have also coming up. I'm going to be at Stone Mountain next weekend for their memorial service.
There's a cool monument in the middle of a subdivision where he died. So.
General Polk?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that guy over there was very stubborn about allowing them permission to do the memorial service. But I'm going to leave it open for any questions if anybody has any.
So we'll go to talking about, so yesterday I was out at the Alabama Confederate Memorial Park and they had a reenactment there. And we were talking about it. The wars today that we fight today, it's like boom, 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 boom. But it wasn't like that. It was like they had to actually stop, reload, fire again. So one battle that for us now may take a day, for them would take a whole lot longer. So can you describe in loading your gun what they would have to do in order to load, so we have a better picture of what life was like trying to fire it, and with the cannon too, because you don't just pull a plug now.
Yeah.
So what was that like for them to actually be in battle?
Loading, so knowing that before battle they go into drill every day, and so they need to learn basics, so like every day they get into their head, so when they get in battle they aren't rushing to, because you got a ramrod, that's why you have to use to ram down the bullet, but you start off, it takes 9 steps to load, loading it 9 times, so you'll take a paper cartridge out of the cartridge box, which I don't have any paper cartridges, so it'd be like in a paper tube with powder and bullet, and you already have the capsule cap box. So tear it, pour it into the muzzle, stick the mini ball, because that's the bullet at this time. And then you have other guns that shoot like 69 caliber buck and ball, 2 ringers, 3 ringers, something like that. And so anyway, kind of set it down just in the muzzle. Take your ramrod, 45-degree angle, and mind this, you're being shot at, so you gotta have a quick process. A veteran can shoot up to 3. A veteran can shoot 3 shots in about 1 minute. Doing all the ram down, replace rammer, then you go to cap, knock off the cap that you just shot, put another one on there, and therefore you're ready to go. So, shooting, you just gotta be quick and you gotta be smooth with it, or else you're gonna be dead. So you gotta load faster than the person on the other side.
Yeah.
Not to mention the cannons are bringing down trees on top of people.
You know, and when we were at Resaco, there was a lot of times that we were told to reload while we were walking, while we were moving.
Yeah.
So we had to, try to take the paper cartridge, put it in the musket, at the same time trying to grab the cap as we're walking and preparing to line up again. So it's challenging, but it's worth it. As far as the cannon, I'm still learning that as much as I can because I only fired it once. But I know that they have like a guy in the back. I think they call it like a powder monkey. So the captain that's in charge of that artillery would ask him to come and grab the ammo. They would take it up there. But they have 2 guys in the front with those things that they would clean the cannons, and then they also have one that's got water. So they would clean it first before they put the put the new round in. And then they would ask for a primer, which is what they would pull to ignite the cannon. And then once they give the command to fire, that's when he'll pull the string, and then the cannon will go off. So I'm still learning that as I'm going. There's a lot of steps in firing artillery as well as infantry. I think the only one that I noticed that didn't probably have a lot of commands, and my buddy would probably get irritated with me saying it, but cavalry. I always joke with Jeff, the 5th, about how it's harder to be infantry or artillery because we got more steps to do. But he's a great guy too. But I think those 2 was the hardest for me to learn. Especially when we were at Resaco, we did like right wheel.
Right wheel.
Yeah, and then left wheel, and then firing by companies. So we had all these different steps. Same way with like artillery, they got a lot of different commands that you got to learn as well. And I'm getting with my friend. He's with the 5th Washington Artillery. Who's teaching me. I just recently started doing, first person point of view, so I'm still learning. And I think I actually told you guys that too when I signed up. I was like, I'm a rookie. Don't get mad if I don't know what I'm doing at first. But Jason and Greg and Levi, they were great guys. They're great leaders, great people for the company because they work with you, they help you. So I was in good hands, and they were there for me when I got sick. So I hate the fact that I made them.
Most of the soldiers died from disease than from the actual battle, so you really lived it up.
Well, when I was trying to relive history, I was just going to go all out. I was going to get the sick part and then come back and die tomorrow.
That's mostly what caused death in the war, instead of being shot, is disease.
Dysentery was the biggest thing.
Malaria.
Malaria and dysentery, because like you said, you have your canteen, but you don't have a drinking fountain that you can go, or you don't have bottled water. So where did their water come from?
Well, it came from creeks,
And
anything that you
50
can find
miles,
resources.
yeah, 50 miles up the creek, you've got the men taking their baths or the horses being in there, and it all just makes its way down, and they wind up sick. And like you said, you went all out, but that's true. How many of them were sick as they could be, still stood out there and fought?
Yeah.
for freedom.
I mean, that's why I always have respect for these guys. I mean, because, we can sit here, a lot of people today sit here and say that, well, they did this wrong, they've done that wrong. Okay, yeah, probably in today's standards, but, you're talking about 1800s, they didn't really have that kind of same standards that we have today, so, we just gotta respect these men. I mean, they went through a lot, and we can't sit here and judge them for anything that they did, because, I mean...
And these were not trained soldiers.
No.
Yeah, I mean, what country don't have
They brought
some
them
blood
guns
on
from
the
home
flag,
that they used to cook dinner with, or
Yeah.
that's what they took with them.
Now, going off of what you were talking about the water and all that, going to Andersonville, I would say that's probably one of the worst places to get drinking water if you have to survive, because Confederate soldiers basically, they use that. Yeah.
It was like their bathroom, their
Basically.
shower,
And so all that ran right through that little creek that went right through Andersonville prison. Therefore, with the Union soldiers who had to take baths or anything like that, or had to just use it for drinking water, got dysentery, malaria, any type of disease that has to do with just bad water.
yeah. I remember going to Andersonville. That still gives me creeps every time I go out there. You can just feel the negative energy there. So does anyone else have any questions?
Well, you said the right wheel, oh, I'm sorry. Right.
Yeah.
Go ahead with your question. Okay, the right wheel and the left wheel, what is that?
I'll let you.
Okay. The right wheel and left wheel is marching maneuver, and so I don't know a good way to explain it, but I think it would be good to do like a demonstration. It'd just be easier.
Yeah.
Because I can't really explain it as well. So basically, staying right here. So if we were doing like left wheel, more towards the middle is like a pivot point, and more towards the line, you're marching like you're going in a circle. So like if you'll call like left wheel march,
Yeah.
it would be like this because you're going around in a circle, and then we'll just go right here. And so it's more like you're going around in a circle. And so basically you had to do this maneuver in case they were getting flanked or in case they needed to move somewhere else, but it'd just be more of like a circle movement, either going to the right or going to the left or going backwards.
Marching bands do that.
Getting flanked was one of Hood's signature maneuvers, and how he won was to flank the Confederate Army.
Ms. Rose, you have a question?
You mentioned the capture at Vicksburg.
Yeah.
Do you know what camps that those captive soldiers were sent to that would be north?
From what I've seen, a lot of the 31st, when they were captured, most of the 31st that was captured spent some time at Rock Island in Illinois.
Well, that was
okay.
the second time. The first
Yes.
time they were in Demopolis. The first time.
Which one? Where's that?
Southwest Alabama, but they were only there for a couple of days.
Yeah.
But who was it here that's got is the Alfred Musgrove Lester? He had a son-in-law. His daughter's son was killed at Vicksburg, and he is at the cemetery there at Vicksburg.
At the Shoulders Rest.
Yeah, so one of the programs we had up here was the big timber operations. The tale of the widows was how the widows used the timber operations to recover from economically recovering from the war.
Yeah.
I didn't even know my family was in lumber until I was talking to Catherine Hartsfield, which was his daughter, I guess, one of his daughters. And whenever we would, as a child, whenever we would drive by their home, Mother would always say something about lumber, and I never understood why she was talking about lumber, but they had a lumber mill, and that's how they...
Chelsea was full of virgin pine trees, so to recover from economically from the war, the widows sold the trees to lumber companies.
I don't think there's a whole, iron mill that built like iron for like...
You're talking about Shelby Iron Works?
Yeah, Shelby Iron Works that built spare iron for the CSS Tennessee.
Yeah, because they got that big
They have that big wooden structure.
They got that marker out there too for the soldiers of the 31st.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I went out there. I went to
And
Tannehill
James's
too.
name is on that marker.
Yeah, I seen it.
Yeah.
I think I took a picture
My
close up to it.
UDC chapter put up that marker. We're very proud of that.
You guys did a great job.
If anybody's interested in joining, let me know. Our chapter's looking for new members.
So you've been out to Tanning Hill, so there may be, a lot of people may have already been to Tanning Hill, some may not know anything about it. What is significant about Tanning Hill and the Civil War?
You want to give it a shot?
You got it.
So they produced kind of, they were producing the iron. From what I was reading, they did a lot of different other things that helped contribute to the Confederate Army. Kind of like the one that I visited in Marietta. There was one out there in Marietta that supposedly Sherman got word that it was manufacturing Confederate money and also paper cartilage for the Confederates. Well, when that got wind to Sherman, he went and burned one down in Marietta. So there was also one that was burned in Georgia too that was manufacturing their wool. And that's, you know, Shelby Iron Works and Tannehill were big producers with the Confederacy and helping their cause.
The Wilson's Raiders moved through Shelby County to
Yeah, that's
take
what,
care of the iron.
all the way to Columbus, Georgia.
And it's a smelting plant, it's in Sand Hill, I think.
Yes.
I don't remember what smelting does to iron.
It melts the iron, and if you go up there today, you can walk up there and you can still see the big furnace, everything that they have out there, and you can find some of the pieces of the stuff that they were doing. When they have the tours available, they